Boom! We're back. Back in a la hot seat for the second vid. Second vid, 2 vids in 1 week. Shooketh to the core. I mentioned in the last video, I've wanted to do YouTube for ages, and what's been interesting about this process already is that usually content makes me feel, I don't want to say nervous or uneasy or away in that capacity, and kind of got over the vulnerability of sharing piece, and I feel quite confident in that. But I feel like over the last few years I've just been a bit uninspired by it. But I felt really excited about filming, and I feel like my notes section is popping again. It feels like the early days of creation where I just feel like I have so much to say, and it feels so, I can't describe it. It just feels really liberating to have a space to share and not feel like I've got to compact ideas into small videos or package things up into carousels, because I think that can often suck the joy out of it for me personally, where I'm like, I have so much I want to say, and it almost feels like I'm betraying myself a little bit by letting ideas be put into these tiny little boxes and squeezed of all the good juice, you know what I mean? But anyway, we're back. I realised I didn't introduce myself in my first video. It's so great to see you here. Thanks for tuning into my little old channel as we grow and evolve. My name is Daisy, and I run a content studio and consultancy called The Selfhood. We've been going for around 7 years this year, which is wild. Worked with lots of different brands, Meta, Gucci, Adobe, Apple. Also the author of Community is Your Currency. Oh, let me hold it up. Incense just went in my tea. Do you reckon that's still drinkable? I might risk it for a biscuit. It's only incense and it's a fresh tea, and I really don't have the bandwidth to make a new one. Right, let's get the book. I should have prepared this. You can tell I'm a first timer. Oh, playing with fire, quite literally here. I'm the author of Community is Your Currency, which is a book I wrote in 2022, published in 2023, and it's all about how to create a meaningful and purpose-led online and offline community. And I'm really passionate about using social media as a vehicle to connection. I think that the offline world is where the real juice happens in terms of friendship, community, whether that is work, personal. I think community can span beyond work and personal. It can be values, beliefs. That's why religion and run clubs, etc. exist. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be friends with everyone in a community, but creating senses of belonging across the world in offline spaces, I think, is what we need more than ever at the moment. So a lot of my work teaches people how to use social media as a vehicle towards that. And also teach at universities and have an IRL space and content studio that I co-run with my partner Ryan. It's a fairly new venture and it's been a lot of fun. Before I proceed, I need to try this tea. It has got incense in it, but I don't think it's going to kill me. It's literally fine. It's lemon and ginger, so the taste is pretty overpowering anyway. But today I want to talk about how I transitioned my business, because it's something I get asked a lot, and how I pivoted from just offering social media services to building out my own offline community and offering offline community consultancy to brands and creators myself, and what that journey looks like. Just to give you some inspiration, I know a lot of people are thinking about exploring offline worlds as a way to connect, as a way to extend their offering in business, and as a way to just emerge into new spaces. I think a lot of people, especially in my community, which is primarily creatives, business owners, entrepreneurs, are feeling really fatigued by social media. Obviously, it's changing so much all of the time. AI has had a huge influence on how we engage with content, how we see content, how we consume content, and just generally our motivation towards content. There is a lot to be said for the humanness and the personality and the unique stories that we bring to the table. I have worked in the industry for 10 years now, coming up. Worked agency side, worked brand side, worked in events, worked in e-commerce, worked in influencer marketing for 4 years. Built up a really strong network, did lots of different things, worked on big web design builds through to CRM builds, for databases of over 1 million customers and through to startups that were in early stages as well. So really saw a huge variety of just business and how people navigate the space in general, and then felt I had a strong enough network. I was 26. I was still in my overdraft. I had so much audacity. I often think like the balls I had back then to just say, see ya, I'm out, I'm building this business. I mean, it wasn't a business then, it's always been a limited company. It was less of a business. I was freelancing then, so it was less risky. I wasn't responsible for other people's well-being and getting paid. It was just me. So I was just kind of like, sure, like, let's see how this goes. COVID came along. I didn't have a personal brand. I wasn't posting on the internet. I didn't have social media profiles. I had Instagram, but it was just like pictures of my dog and my holidays and cheese. And I had a LinkedIn, which I don't think I ever posted on. COVID came along, I lost all my freelance work because the first thing that came to a halt was marketing budget. I was very new to the game at that point. I'd just been traveling. I'd done the whole digital nomad thing, was in Bali, Philippines, Vietnam with my laptop. Came back home, lost all of the work. And it was at that point that I was like, oh wow, like I'm really gonna have to invest in building a presence online and putting myself out there. I'm gonna take this a bit more seriously. So I started to invest more time into it, and since then it's been a real journey. I'd say since 2020, social media has just skyrocketed, and it was always important before that, but in recent years it's just become this huge thing. But what I started to notice is that the more we lent into social media and the more we were becoming hyper-connected online, the more disconnected we were becoming offline. And I think there's a multitude of reasons for that. Lots of people still have social anxiety, especially people in the freelance industry and people in my community. So I recognised that. I created a campaign called Check Yourself Before Your Notifications, which was really to raise awareness of screen time and how often we use our phones. And it was at that point I kind of realised that we really need to help people reconnect, and we need to help people get back out into the world and build real meaningful connections. So today I want to just talk about how I did that, and hopefully it might help you. I'm going to do a whole video on hosting your first community meetup and event, but it might give you some food for thought in how you can pivot your business so that you not only just have an online community, you also build an offline community, and how you could potentially start to offer that out to brands as well. So the first thing I did was to start hosting my own events. And I, for context, had a real big fear of public speaking, felt like a bit socially anxious when I first started doing the freelancing stuff. When I first started Selfhood, because I'd always worked in teams, I didn't have a huge network in London, I didn't grow up here, so building a community, building a network was actually quite difficult for me at the beginning. But I started to just host my own events, and a tip that I would give you is to collaborate with people when you first do it, because it can feel quite scary if you do it on your own. So a lot of the events I did in the early days were in partnership with other people who had similar values, similar things to say, whether that was panel talks, creative meetups, and just different events that was still relevant to my community, still relevant to theirs, but it meant that the load was shared. And also you can learn from people that have done it with you before, you can learn as you go. If you face a roadblock or if you're feeling a bit nervous, which by the way is just so unbelievably normal, it means that you have got someone that you can lean on, and it means that you've got someone that you can call up and say, I'm freaking out, what if no one buys a ticket? And they can be like, chill, we got this, and it can ground you back down. So that's the first thing I would say for you to do, is find someone you can collaborate with. And it could, I think quite often as well, just to say, this is another point I'd like to make, quite often we feel that events have to be these elaborate, packed events filled with an amazing itinerary back to back every minute of the 3 hours or full day or whatever it is you choose to do. Actually, the best events I found, and I've done so many now, I've done literally hundreds, is that people need time to breathe. People need time to soften into the space, soften into each other. And really, when you host events, you are just there to coordinate everything, but also to facilitate. The best thing for me personally, and the feedback I get, is like, it's really great to meet new people and it's really great to connect with other people. So don't feel like you've got to overpack it and make it this all singing, all dancing packed itinerary. Sometimes it's good to have maybe one activity and then just let people talk and naturally network, and then they leave feeling like they've done something great but also connected with people. So don't feel like you've got to create this all singing, all dancing thing. So that's the first thing I would say, is to collaborate when you first get started. The second thing, I would recommend building an offline community or a community outside of social media, is to ask people, where do you want to be contacted? So last year, literally a year ago, just under a year ago, I started a WhatsApp group for creatives and entrepreneurs and anyone really in the social media, digital space, freelancers, people working full time, just anyone who wanted to connect with new people really in that space. Created a WhatsApp group, and within the WhatsApp group we have work opportunities, general chit chat, goals and wins, IRL events, a space to promote their own events, and a few other bits and bobs. But I asked people first, like, I'm thinking of creating this space where people can chat and connect, where works best for you. Not everyone was on Slack, Telegram, not everyone was on yet. There are other apps you can use. Circle is a great one, but not many people in my community were over there at the time. So it didn't feel like the right time. So WhatsApp is where we've landed. It has been one of the best things I've ever done for my business. I feel like I'm in constant dialogue with people. And someone this morning was like, I'm freaking out, I feel like I'm not very good at my job, does anyone else have this? And straight away people were in like, this is really natural, do this all the time, these are some things that really help me. So it's been really cool to see people come together and have a closed space where they can share some of the things that they may be struggling with, or some of the things they want to talk about, some of the things that are just on their mind in general. So again, ask people how they want to be contacted, don't just assume. I've seen people create these shiny spaces where people are invited to chat offline, but it's like another app that people don't want to download, and it's another step that people don't want to download. Equally, you can just enforce that. So just to play devil's advocate on my own point, my partner has a run club. He uses an app called Heylo, H-E-Y-L-O, and you have to register for events in there, sign a health and safety waiver. If they do any dinners or food and drink, you upload your dietary requirements in there, and he is a savage about it. He's like, if you don't fill the form in, you ain't coming, basically. So if you're really regimented in that, just make it a really formal part of the onboarding. I personally prefer to keep it a bit more loose, but I don't have people's health and safety, not at all points. Sometimes I do obviously have to be aware of that. But obviously a run club is different to a community meetup or a co-working day. There's more risk involved. So I understand why. So again, just think about what's right for your brand, what's right for your business, what's right for your event or whatever you're hosting. The third thing I did was to create a repeatable format that was really low lift. So I started hosting co-working days about 18, 19 months ago, whenever it was. And I bring a cake every time, which has a cute little slogan on it that I can share on socials and feels aligned with my brand and my message. Have a space that I repeatedly book, that will come in every month, and just tell people between this time and this time you can drop in and out. I'll be there to say hello, and people just bring their laptops and chat and get work done. It requires a lot of admin from me. I'm not going to downplay it. It does take work. I build the emails, I promote it, I'm there on the day. I don't do any client work because I'm there to facilitate. So there is work involved, but I'm not having to stand up and do a talk or do anything that's overly laborious on the day other than facilitate. I don't have a massive social battery, just be aware of energy levels and whatnot. But for the most part, it's pretty smooth sailing. I really, really love doing it. I get a lot of joy from it. I get a lot of reward from it. And it's just something I can repeat over and over again. So again, it might be that it's a book club. It might be a Saturday walk once a month where you pick a theme or a topic. We do this, I co-built with Angela Scanlon, one of our clients. She launched a walking club, and we just meet, grab a coffee, everyone chats, and she'll bring a theme or something that's on her mind, or a topic that people can debate if they want to, not even debate, just talk about if they want to, just to keep it super candid and free and give it a bit of a tone. So again, repeatable formats, really good way to do it. Ask for help. So I have historically asked people in my community to volunteer. So I host volunteer days with a elderly community in North London, and we go along, we chat to the elderly people. It's one of the most beautiful things I've done since launching Selfhood. And we usually do an arts and crafts activity, and then people just come along. But I have asked historically people to come and help set up. I've asked them to volunteer on those days. I've asked them to help me with workshops. I've asked them to help me clean up. I've asked them to help me with just some of the bits that require a bit more work for just one person who's also running a business full time. And most people really want to help, and that is, again, I think we need to think about, that is the whole point when it comes to community. It's asking people for help. And I saw something on the internet recently, and it was really interesting, and they were saying nowadays we'd rather go to B&Q and buy power tools rather than just knock our neighbour's door and say, don't suppose you've got a drill I could borrow, have you? What I've come to realise actually through asking for help is people really do want to help. It makes them feel part of something, and that's what community is about. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Logistics, really important that you look at the logistics and look at the journey of how you're going to get people to hear about the event, sign up, receive the communications, and receive the follow-up, and then on the day. So it could be that you look at something like Eventbrite, which can kind of manage it all for you. So Eventbrite is an online platform. There's a few like this. There's meetup.org, but Eventbrite I'll use just for the purpose of today. Eventbrite promote events, so if you put an event on there, it's also kind of like a search engine for events, so you get the extra visibility. It might be that you use Eventbrite to build the landing page. People can sign up there and they can receive confirmation emails as well. I personally promote events through social media. They sign up through my website so that I can cap how many people sign up, because quite often I have limits on the amount of people that can come along. They then get exported into a segment in Flowdesk, and then they get an email to confirm their attendance the week before, the day before, and the day of, just reminding them of what they need to bring, if they do need to bring anything, time, place, location. Make it really easy for people. Another tip that I would give you is to add a link to add to calendar. So there is a website called AddCal. I'll put it here so you can see it. And it basically allows you to embed a button in an email so that when someone is coming to your event, they can click that button and it goes straight into their calendar. Because quite often people sign up to things and then they maybe forget, or they book a call in or a meeting in, and then they're like, crap, I've got a clash, I actually can't make it. So you want to make the process before logistically as easy as possible. Get that automated email to say they've got a place ready to go. Get those emails ready, reminding them of the location. And on the day, if you're solo hosting, just as an example, this happened to me recently. I was solo hosting a creative retreat day, and I knew that I needed someone to greet people on the door. So I just asked someone, do you want a free ticket, and help me greet people on the door. So just make sure that you've got that help covered. Obviously, if you're hosting, people might arrive at different times. If there's a doorbell or if there's like an arrival, just make sure that you've got the right support around you to invite people in. And then ask for feedback, which is something that we often avoid, but I have a group of people who come to the events quite often, and I'll always ask, you know, anything that could be improved. What did you think about X, Y, Z? How do you think X could work better next time? And ask people when they're there if it feels right. Like, what do you think of the venue? Did you think that the sound was okay on the panel? Like, get that feedback, get that dialogue, and have a lovely time, essentially. The other thing to be aware of is emotional safety. Events are actually a pretty big deal. Like, I remember in the early stages of Selfhood, when I was new to this world in general, going to events felt really scary, and like, it's a lot, especially if you're coming alone. So I always really set the tone with my events. I have community guidelines and event guidelines I share, which is all about no hate speech. Reassure them that I will be there to greet them. I let them know that if they're feeling a bit nervous about the event, that they can contact me before, and I will reach them before. I find it, people think it's, well, people say it's really cringe to have name badges. I'm all for it. I just think there's nothing worse than speaking to someone, forgetting their name, already feeling a bit anxious about being there on your own. So, so maybe get name badges to help people with that. And yeah, you might want to create your own community or event guidelines as well. I can pop mine here just to help you. Also, like, kind of vibe do you want to bring, what don't you tolerate, and all that kind of stuff as well. When it comes to actually theming your events, ask people what they want. Most of my events are quite reactive based on what people say they need or are craving right now. So I will come up with a name for the event, come up with an event description, and then work the logistics backwards. In terms of securing a venue, quite often some venues will give you the spaces for free because it gives them more capacity, it gets people through the door. Look at things like hotels, cafes, co-working spaces. There's lots of spaces that are looking for people to come through the door. So maybe just look around your local area and see what's around. And yeah, as I said, some will offer you them for free, some might ask for a payment, in which case you could always look to ticket the event. I'm not going to talk about pricing your event today, just because it's such a case-by-case thing. Most of my community events are free. If I have to pay for a space or cover the cost of anything, I might charge people, but again, it depends. If I was to do something like a retreat and bring in other practitioners, I'd want to make sure that they were paid for their time, in which case I would look to increase a ticket price. So I won't go too much into that. It's worth just doing some market research on that to find your flow. And then I've been doing this, I've been hosting events now for like years, so longer actually, 4 or 5 years I've been hosting events for. So I feel really confident now in the process. I know what works well. I know what all of that has now manifested into in terms of what Selford offers. We have co-created offline communities with creators and brands where we've designed events, we've designed different programs that people can join. We've done everything from come up with the name of them, brand them, build an annual event plan. We've planned the logistics, we've designed the comms that go out around it, the feedback forms. So there's lots that you can do when you start to do this. You can then obviously start to offer that out. There are some things you need to be aware of, the legalities, insurance, obviously you need to be insured. Again, I won't go into too much detail around that because it does largely depend on the kind of things that you're offering. And one more final thing I would just be aware of is a bit of a crisis strategy. Like if something goes wrong, if someone hurts themselves or if something happens, just know what your plan is and how you are going to respond to that, just so that you're not in panic mode on the day. So that could fall into your community guidelines. Obviously you could have like a community facing one, which is more of like the rules around how to show up on the day, what you don't tolerate, etc. But then you could have your own internal like around if something happens, this is what we do. So I hope that was helpful, and I really think this is the year to go for it, to be honest. There's so much noise in the online space, and I still love socials. I'm not here to badmouth social media. I think there's still lots of great opportunity, but we are seeing this real call to connection. In the report I wrote late last year, there was a lot of data, a lot of statistics around how social media is becoming more media and less social. People were originally following along for their friends. The everyday user is now posting less as celebrities, influencers and creators post more. It's become more of like a streaming service as opposed to an actual social sharing space, and we are massively seeing the need for that connection. And aside from it being rewarding and fun, it's also just a really beautiful thing to do for other people. And when I think about all of the things that I love most about my job and all of the things that really bring me joy, the moments, whenever I talk about it, I actually get like really choked, but like the moments that I get those like full body, like, oh, like, yes, this feels really good. I feel like really connected and in my purpose. is when you see maybe someone rock up to an event who has let you know that they're feeling a bit anxious, settle in and leave with new friends, or someone comes along and says like, I'm a new mum and I feel like I've lost my identity, and today just reminded me what it meant to be myself. Or, you know, I've had people that come to co-working and they've gone on holidays together, they have ended up putting people in touch with their mates and they've got into relationships and formed really beautiful friendships, started podcasts together, started businesses together, like all off the back of the event. So to be able to be that connecting thread that unites people and brings people together, without sounding like Mother Teresa about it, but it is a really beautiful thing to be able to do for people. And also, like, I've just met some of the most incredible people myself. I've made amazing friends, and one friend, I went to one of her events 7 years ago, and I'm going to her hen do this year and her wedding abroad, and we formed a really like beautiful friendship just from rocking up to one of her events. So yeah, it's just a lovely, really special, rewarding thing to do, and something that you could, you know, if you get lots of experience in it and you try lots of different things, you could even go on to offer clients and other people or support other people with. So yeah, I hope that was helpful, and I hope that gave you some inspiration around pivoting from URL spaces to IRL spaces, and maybe it might inspire you to start your first event or pick up an event you've been thinking about doing, or yeah, resurfacing a series that you had started a few years ago, or whatever that looks like. But yeah, happy to answer any questions. I hope it was beneficial, and thanks for coming back, or thanks for being here, and yeah,